Hello, welcome. We are so glad that you all have joined us for our December parent meeting. This is going to be a really spectacular meeting with Dr. Robin. I'm so excited to find out so many of her different tips and things that we're going to take into the new year with us, the second semester. And I think that you all are really going to enjoy this as much as I do for her 3 steps to a successful second semester. Of course, most of you know Dr. Robin, but if you're new to us, she is a expert in science. She's a medical doctor with years of experience. She's also a homeschooling mom. She has neurodivergent family members. She's just so skilled in so many different areas and has so much love for children too and teaching them science. And I am blessed to be her assistant and nurse who helps with her. I'm also a homeschooling mom. And I've been using the program with my own daughter for many years. And we just happened upon Dr. Robin's program, and we have been dedicated users ever since. It's helped my daughter to love science more than what she ever would have before. She also was inspired to go and get her BLS certification at only 12 years of age, thanks to Dr. Robin. And so we are just so excited to be a part of Dr. Robin's school, and I know that you all will be and are hopefully as well. So, Dr. Robin is also a professor at her local medical school, helps with that part-time, but her real love is just helping with children learning science. And we also are here for the parents too. And so we want you guys to know that we are here to support you. And that is why she's doing this webinar today with us to give us these amazing tips. So I would like to welcome Dr. Robin Dickinson, and we'll let her speak and give us some really, really cool information. Thank you, Dr. Robin.
Thank you so much, Jill, for your kind introduction. You're always so lovely. And everyone, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. I know it's a very busy time of year for all of us. If you have kids and you celebrate Christmas, or if you are in any sort of activities that have these end of the year, school year, or end of the year activities and shows and programs and parties, then it's probably pretty busy for you. And if not, I'm so jealous, but it is a wonderful time also. So we totally understand that your time is very valuable, and we appreciate you spending it with us. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about how this program that I've created is also there for people's health and part of kind of an outgrowth of me as a doctor. I am the CEO and founder of Dr. Robin School, but before that, I've been a family physician for many years. I had my own practice for 7 years before switching over to teaching. And I teach both medical school and I teach kids. I've now taught thousands of kids all over the world, which is so much fun. And I discovered that that is so much fun. That's just what I want to do. And so while I actually dialed back a bit on the medical school part, and I focus on this. But with all those years of experience in medical education and with patients, I know how important education is, not just for like getting good grades or what, but for our entire lives, for our health and our success and our well-being. So I set up my whole practice around education. I actually started my own practice largely because I wanted that time to educate my patients. I didn't want a 10-minute appointment or a 5-minute appointment. I wanted an hour. So my practice was set up so I could have an hour with every patient. And that meant that I had time to really sit down and educate and teach and explain so that every patient understood how their body worked. And you can kind of see how that led to what I do now. None of my patients were surprised by what I ended up doing. But I could see that as I worked with people, they were able to achieve so much in life and so much in their own health. And that's why I do what I do. So I want to tell you about a couple different patient stories. I mean, I've got hundreds and hundreds of stories I could tell you. Obviously, a few details would be changed for patient privacy, but they are all, I'm imagining, a real person in my mind that I'm telling you about. So first, I want to tell you about a patient of mine who was a science writer before he started seeing me. And this was in my private practice when I actually had all that time. And he wasn't working anymore. And the reason he wasn't working anymore was because of all of his health problems were getting both so overwhelming, but also making it impossible for him to be able to present himself the way he wanted to. And this is a science writer. And people were seeing him through his problems. And of course, we should never do that. It's on them also. But it was really spoiling a lot of his chances. And he was just the sweetest guy who meant the best, but didn't know how to take care of himself. He'd never learned, even though he had all that science knowledge, what to do with himself. And so we spent a lot of time together. And actually, everyone in my practice, all my patients generally live in my community. So I run into him once in a while. And I saw him just on Broadway the other day walking down the street. And I'm like, hey, you look great. Uh, After all this time of explaining how diabetes works, how your liver works, how your pancreas works, why you have to do what you need to do to take care of it, how all the medications work, why you need surgery for cataracts, what cataracts are, and why the surgery is safe, and you can go ahead and do that. And just each thing we took care of. He had back issues. He needed physical therapy. He obviously, not taking care of himself, was not eating very well either. He wasn't feeling good. His mood wasn't good. We took care of so many things, just kind of like whatever he was bothered by, that's what we focused on first. And after a couple years of working with him, he'd had cataract surgery and could see really clearly and also look you straight in the eye. He was standing up straight and physically felt so much better and stronger because of his back issues and his knee issues being taken care of. And his diabetes was under control, which meant that he was able to work a full day. Felt really good. And he was able to get his dream job. And that's just one example of what happens. Well, first of all, when you don't take care of yourself. And this is a guy who knew science, which at the time kind of baffled me. But this was early in my practice. He was one of my very first patients. And I came to discover that that's really common to have book knowledge, but not have practical knowledge, which is why I've woven it into everything with Dr. Robin's school. We're not just learning about the body, we're learning about your body and how to take care of yourself. Because well, he started off as a terrible warning, but then he became a wonderful example of what can happen when you take care of yourself and how your life can really turn around and you can go from desperation and misery to success and happiness. And not that everyone's going to get their dream job if they take care of themselves. And of course, his dream job, not my dream job. I would never want the dream job he got. We're different people, right? But for him, he was able to do what he needed and wanted to do. And a happy ending is different for every one of us. So being able to take care of ourselves in a way that lets us reach our own happy ending, I think is just the most beautiful thing we can do for any of us. So that's why I do what I do. I want to talk a little bit about Dr. Robin's school and how that ties in with our kids here and our students and some of my own students. Again, I've taught thousands of kids around the world since March of 2020 when we had that little pandemic thing. And I decided it was better to be with my family, which was hard, but also the woman who bought my practice is lovely and we're close friends now. So it worked out really well. But all of these kids, one of the most common emails I get from parents is, my child started brushing their teeth. My child started nagging me about eating more fiber. My child started asking why we weren't having vegetables with dinner. And I'm like, I'm not telling kids they have to do any of this, right? I'm just teaching them how their body works, and then they want to. I also tell them all the bad examples. I tell them about when I got cavities because I did, when I didn't brush my teeth. And so it becomes this not like you should do this, you should do that. And our family would say we should not shit on ourselves. No shitting. But it doesn't work, right? It doesn't do any good to say you should do something. We need to know why. We need to really understand it in our gut that we want to do this. And so that's why when we understand sleep, then sleep makes sense. Oh, my brain is literally gunky and icky and it needs to get cleaned and I need my body to get repaired and I need to process all the stuff I learned and package it up, put it away. That makes sense now. When we understand how digestion works, we can understand like, oh, this is why I need fiber in my diet, right? This is why I need all those things that we have that help us be able to be healthy. When we learn about stress, when we learn about the amygdala, when we learn about our fight or flight response, we learn about our survival brain and our smart brain. When we learn about all these things, we know why. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about my own child who was given permission. So my 15-year-old son dances ballet. He's in the pre-professional program and absolutely loves every minute of it. And his school really focuses on health, which is good because, as you may have heard, dancers are not always the healthiest. And even with all that focus, on them getting enough nutrition, them getting enough sleep, getting, all the things they need, my son routinely comes home saying, Mom, I don't see how they function. I don't understand how they could even get through their day. No wonder they're depressed. No wonder they're tired. No wonder they're struggling. They're not getting enough sleep. They're not getting enough to eat. And of course, this is a 15-year-old boy, right? And I'm not someone who's been telling him you should do this, you should do that. He just learns what it's for, right? He learns what sleep is for. He learns what nutrition is for. And so when he sees other people not taking care of themselves, he doesn't think, oh, that looks really fun staying up really late playing on the computer. Now, is he a perfect child? No. And I certainly had my share of times where I get up to use the bathroom like, Charlie, go to bed. But he understands why. He's like, yeah, Mom, I'm going to bed. And like the light turns off and he goes to bed because it's not Mom nagging him. I mean, it is Mom nagging him, but it's because he understands how his body works. He knows what it needs. And so that's a right now. He's taking care of himself right now. And that's something that kids can do at the age of 10, at the age of 5, at the age of 15, and that carries them into the future. Just the other day, I ran into one of my former patients, actually in the bread aisle. I live right by the grocery store we all go to. So I ran into her at the bread aisle early in the morning when we were both there because we were out of bread. And she's like, Dr. Robin! And I had this moment, I was like, oh dear, I don't remember who you are, because it was early in the morning and I was not in Dr. Brain. But then she started talking about her kids. I'm like, oh, I know all about this. Like, I know the whole story. And so I started catching up on her kids. And of course, it's been a couple years. So her daughter's in college now and thriving. And this is a kiddo who was really struggling when they first joined up with me, had friends who maybe were not a good influence, was feeling kind of desperate about like, if every single thing was a huge deal in their life and they weren't okay. And they're probably like 9 or 10 at the time, like quite young to already be feeling desperate. But the whole family didn't know how to take care of themselves. And of course they knew like what you should do. You shouldn't eat sugar, you shouldn't, but they didn't really know how to like love their body and care for their body the way their body needed. And so we just did what I do, right? We started with education and just working through bit by bit by bit what your body needs. And I got to see the whole family. Actually, I ended up with their friends and their neighbors. That's kind of how my practice worked, is that everyone referred everyone else. And so I took care of like lots of people from like, I meet one person and then I get their whole extended family and everyone from their church and then from where they worked. And so I ended up getting like their whole group. And pretty soon they were like supporting each other in taking care of themselves. And this particular child is now off at college and happy and taking care of herself. And she's studying to be a registered dietitian, which the mom's like, I would have never anticipated that one, but here we are. And just the way that she went from not knowing how to take care of herself to taking care of herself. Now, is her life perfect? No. They still had their struggles. There's still some friction in certain family relationships. You've caught me up on those. And we don't have control over everything, right? All we can do is take care of ourselves. But everything else is easier when we take care of ourselves. This is the time of year when we start really talking a lot about taking care of ourselves, but most people have forgotten about it later in the year. So we're going to talk today about how to make your whole second semester more successful, not just for school, but for how to take care of our bodies and how to take care of ourselves, which makes, like I said, everything else easier. So we're going to put up here an ebook that we have that I made for you. And there we go, got it up for you. So this is a companion to another gift we're going to be giving to you. So they will have the same style. If you are someone who cares about that, I am. But I love putting this together for you. I'm a bit of a journal geek. So you'll see I went all out on this because habit trackers are so much fun. And so you have like all the habit trackers in here. But I put in there a bunch of different choices. So we're going to talk about 3 steps for using this book and also just preparing for success in your second semester. So first, prepare for success, then begin your journey, and then how to celebrate it and perpetuate it. We want to keep going, right? We don't want to stop on January 30th and be like, well, that was it. We're done. No, we want to keep going for the whole year. The good news is once you make this a regular habit, not I did it for 30 days and it's a habit, but a habit of self-improvement and a habit of self-care and making changes, then it just keeps happening forever, which is my poor kids, not poor kids, they're great kids. And they got dragged along on my own life, which is I kind of look at like, what is it that's not working and how can I fix it? And we keep adding little things. So the first step to using all this, prepare for success. Download the ebook that I have up for you right now. And then register for Dr. Robin's school if you want to get the lessons, because that all goes together. And actually, let me grab the book real quick. I'm going to about take it down and I'll put up the link for registering for people who need that. And then if you need this, obviously you can also email us. And also on the replay, this will still be available. All right, so there's that. And then let me pull up the link for you for those of you who want to get that to make it easier. There you go. So that's the link to go get started. So all the lessons that I created, of course, mesh well with this because they help you be able to talk to your kids not in a mom told you should do this way, but in a this is how your body works. This is just reality. This isn't like mom telling you to do something. This is actually just how it is. This is what you need for your body. This is science. So register for Dr. Robin's school. You can choose if you're going to do 1, 2, or 4 classes a week. There's lots of options. You can decide if you want to do any of the live sessions, which I'll be telling you more about here in a little bit because we have a new surprise for everyone I'm super, super excited about. And then use the lessons because they teach how the body works and how to care for your body. And it's very easy to tie that in because I tie it in for you. And while you're at it, though, you can be intentionally tying this in your day-to-day life. So step 2 is going to be to begin your journey. As you begin your journey, pick the one habit that your family really needs. And that could be not, first of all, don't do a big habit. Do a little habit, tiny habit, because you're not going to be able to do a big thing all at once. Break it down into like the smallest piece of the habit. For example, I had a patient who wanted to exercise more. And I was like, what is it's keeping you? And she's like, I get home from work and I'm tired. I don't want to change into my exercise clothes. I just want to get my pajamas. And I was like, so can you exercise in your pajamas? She's like, well, I guess so. Yeah. And I said, well, where do you usually exercise? And she's like, well, I actually have an exercise bike that I intend to use, but I don't feel like it. And I was like, well, where is it? And she's like, oh, it's in my closet. I'm like, well, where would you want to use it? She's like, well, in front of the TV. That's all I want to do is just lie in front of the TV on the sofa. It's like, so how about drag it out, put it in front of the TV, come home from work, get in your pajamas, sit on the couch and watch TV. And she's like, what? What do you mean sit on the couch and watch TV? I thought it's just exercise. And I was like, well, we're working on a habit here. So your habit is going to be getting in your pajamas and sitting on the couch. But the exercise bike is going to be right there. And if at some point you like felt like getting on it for, a minute, you could, but you don't have to. Like it's just there. And so that's what she did. Is she started just sitting on her couch in her pajamas. And then she was like, it's right there. I guess I'll go sit on it now. And she actually just sat on it for a few days, watched TV from there. And then she was like, well, I may as well use it. So she started riding her bike and watching TV when she got home from work. And by the time she saw me the next time, she had the habit, right? She was riding her bike every day. So break it down. What is it that's stopping you? Do your baby steps, right? Add a little bit at a time. But choose what that habit's going to be. And I'm not saying it has to be wearing your pajamas and watching TV, but figure out what's going to work for you. You can have a lead-in period if you need. Now is a great time to start that lead-in. If you want to start January 1st with your new habit, now is a great time to watch lessons related to that habit so you really know why, and to do some sort of lead-in. If there's things that are standing in the way of doing your habit, maybe it's that you want to go to bed on time, but it takes way too long to get ready when you get home from everything. So maybe the lead-in habit is going to be laying everything out ahead of time. Maybe, in the morning when you all get up, you lay out your things for that night bedtime. Or maybe as part of putting dinner together, everyone lays out their clothes. Or, figure out what it is that's getting in the way and then remove that problem if you at all possibly can, or lighten it in some way, or make it easier or faster or more fun. Whatever it is you need. So do your lead-in habit, find what's messing with you, and then be ready to start whenever that is you're planning on starting. And at that point, you're going to want to pick out the habit tracker that you're going to use. I had so much fun making these. And there's some where you can have multiple family members on the same tracker. There's some for just one person. Any of the ones that are meant for multiple people, you can just use for one person, multiple habits, though I don't recommend that many new habits. Start with one new habit. But if you already have some other habits that you're like, I want to give myself credit for it, go for it. I like writing a to-done list as well as a to-do list. So in my planner, I have a to-do list, but then as I do things that aren't on the list, I add them and then check them off because I totally deserve credit for those anyways. So if you want credit for a habit you already have, I'm 100% with you on that because I totally give myself credit for the habits I already have because you know what? Habits are work. So give yourself credit. Read the ebook. There's a whole front section. The entire book is like 20 pages. There's a lot there. The front section is about habits and making habits and how to build good habits bit by bit. You can always message us if you want more information, of course. Have a conversation with your kids and don't make it about we should do this. Instead, talk about what our body needs. Watch a lesson together as a family. And if you need help picking that out, message Jill and she can help you know which lesson is going to match well with what you need for your family. And if for some reason there isn't something you need, guess what? We're about to record a whole bunch of Ask Dr. Robbins, so I can record one for you. Write the goal on your habit tracker and then post it where everyone can see it. And this is really important. You want it to be visible because you want to remember. I don't know about you, but I have a really crazy life and I don't remember anything if it's not written down and I don't have an alarm for it. So I have alarms on my phone for everything, putting out the trash, putting my kids to bed, everything. And then I also have like stuff posted all over the place because otherwise I'm not going to remember. So post your habit tracker. I personally tape a pen with yarn next to anything I put on the wall where I might need to write something down so that I have it right there too, because otherwise I'm going to be looking for like that bit of broken crayon somewhere. But maybe you're more organized than me, which is totally cool. But if you're like me, just tape something up there so you're ready to go. And then daily check in, right? Check in with your family, see how it's going, see what you need to do. And then you're able to encourage each other. And again, this check-in is not a right. You don't want to do that. That's no fun at all. Instead, the check-in is like a celebration and also just a problem solving. Okay, so we didn't do it today, but guess what? We started to. So that's a start. What stopped us partway through? And you can figure that out and then try something new. Try taking it a little bit further, getting a little bit further along. Finally, we're going to celebrate and perpetuate that success. So after whatever time period you pick, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, I personally like 30 days. You don't want to go less than about 30 days because it takes time to build a habit. So I always one habit for 30 days before we introduce anything new. I personally have trouble imagining 90 days. So I do 30-day chunks. And if you can do 90 days, that's great. And if you can't, do 30-day chunks. If 30 days is too much, do 1 week chunks or whatever. But the sheets I did all according to 30 or 31 days. Some of them are 31, some are 30, depending on what looked pretty. So if you have a 31-day month on a 30-day sheet, I'm very sorry. Just like put a little check next to it. And then continue doing the lessons. Continue learning about the body. And as you do the lessons, it's highly likely your kids are going to be inspired to something else. Because we do hear often from parents whose kids are all over the family needing to exercise, needing to eat more fiber, needing to brush their teeth, needing to get sleep, needing to whatever it is. And so if your kid ever mentions anything, grab it, like go with it because they noticed. My kids are currently, mom's not exercising enough. So I'm doing TheraBands with them and they are so much happier because mom's doing TheraBands. And so they know that I'm getting my exercise, I'm getting stronger. And of course it's good family together time and it's teaching them the value of all of us being active and getting stronger together. Also, I think I mentioned already, but if you have any questions that come up as you're doing this, just submit them, just email them into Jill. She's jill@docrobbinschool.com or hello@docrobbinschool.com. Everything goes to Jill. She's the guru of all things, and she will get that to me. I'm recording a new set of Ask Dr. Robin. Those are going to be coming out here in January, and I will answer your questions. If it's something pressing you need the answer right away, just let Jill know. We can get things to you sooner. We do bump things up if we need to. And just let us know any questions you have. Also, Jill, of course, is a nurse. That's why we work so well together, and she can answer a lot of those questions for you too. So she can help you with more immediate needs also. Speaking of Jill, we have something very special coming up in January that I'm super excited about. So for people who are new or have younger kids or kids who have not taken online classes before, if you're interested in the live classes, it's a transition for sure. Some kids really struggle with it. Some kids are just like duck to water. But any of those situations, or if your kid needs weekend classes, Jill is going to be offering Coloring Book Club. So a lot of you already know we have Coloring Book Club once a week. It's totally optional. The program is completely asynchronous. You do not need the live classes. They're just really cool and fun and a great opportunity for kids to ask live questions and to work directly with me or now with Jill, because she's going to be offering Coloring Book Club on Saturdays. It's going to be live. It's an introductory level, one semester. She's not doing everything in the book. We have worked together to select which pages are appropriate for a one semester overview. I actually have it right here. Let me grab. You didn't hear it crash, I hope. There it is, Dr. Robbins' Anatomy Coloring Book for Serious Young Scientists. And you'd get the book and you would register for the class. You register for the class by registering for Dr. Robbins School, and then you go into the parent portal, and there is a place to register for live classes. It's on the parent side. We don't let kids do that. That's on you. You get to choose whether or not your kids get to go to live stuff. We do not want kids wandering in by themselves. So that's on the parent side. So you register your kid, you get the book, and then it's open to everyone who's enrolled with Dr. Robbins School. It's a bonus. It's not necessary. But you can start class January, I just had to check what day, January 18th. It's a Saturday. It's limited to 12 seats. We found that 12 is a good size for that one-on-one attention, especially for the younger beginners or the beginner Zoom classes who have not done the live online classes before, or beginner students in anatomy. We want that one-on-one attention. My classes get a little bit bigger because, of course, I have it's not quite as introductory, though your kids are always welcome to come, of course. If you are new, you enroll now, you get 30 days free, so a full month, which I think it's like the 17th or something. It's the 17th. So you will still be on free trial when the class starts. So if you start now, sign up. You'll still be on free trial when your first session begins of Coloring Book Club with Jill. And if you don't do Coloring Book Club, you still have that whole month where you can get started with Dr. Robbins School lessons. You can decide what habits you're going to work on for the new year. You can read the ebook and get your habit trackers going. You can ask Jill any questions you have, and you'll be off to a great start for January. You won't be, you won't be behind like I sometimes am, where I didn't plan. I'm like, what? It's January already? How did that happen? So what I have learned to do is I get everything set now, so that by the time January comes around, I'm like, I am so prepared. So I've actually got most of my kids' stuff ready for January. We're switching, like a lot of parents, I'm like, we need to switch this, we need to switch that. So we're changing a schedule. We're switching out our critical thinking stuff. We're, doing certain things. And I have that all set. We've even started practicing some of our new routines because I'm like, I want to be ready when we start. If you've been with us for a while, I hope this webinar has helped you be able to have a really successful second semester. And if you're new and you have more questions about what I was just telling you about, you can always message us. You can message Jill for more information. She's great. You can also schedule on her calendar. You can schedule on Zoom, live meeting on Zoom. You can schedule a phone call, or you can just email with her if you're someone like me and like I don't have time for the live stuff. If I need help asynchronously. So all of that is ready for you whenever you need it. So, and actually I just realized I left that thing up there this whole time. And then I don't have the link. I don't know if you have it, Jill, or I can grab it real quick for the samples or for how to contact you. I guess you are Jill at drrobbinschool.com. So I know that one. There you go. I just put that in the chat. So she's easy to get a hold of.
Yeah, thank you. And please do reach out to me at any time. If you want to look at the samples, while I just had a couple of question and answers that came in, Dr. Robin. And thank you so much for that. I wrote so many notes down about all the different advice that you give, and it's so, so valuable. You inspire us. I love your analogy of no shoulding. I like that because should is not a word that, really makes a good difference a lot of times in our vocabulary. So thank you for that reminder. We had a parent that asked, how can I model healthy habits in my own lifestyle to reinforce the importance of these practices to my children? You mentioned about doing TheraBands with your children to help with like exercising. So would it be would you think getting involved with your children and getting in there and doing those habits with them as often as possible?
Definitely getting involved with your kids. Anytime you want your kids to do something, it's going to be easier if they see you doing it. Growing up, I remember my mom wanted me to practice the piano every day, and I never saw her practice any instrument. I never saw her play an instrument. And it made it really hard for me to practice. So when my kids ran into practice issues, I had actually each of them teach me their instrument, which they thought was hilarious because, of course, I don't know what I'm doing playing a violin. Uh, but it helped them to see I was practicing every day and I was working on it. And this is in every realm of life. I'm currently learning German with one of my kids. I'm currently learning coding with one of my kids, which is not my natural gift, but is something that's important to him. And so, and like I said, I'm doing therabands with my kids. And whatever it is that you want your kids to do, one of the easiest ways to get them to do it is to do it yourself. And whether that's brushing your teeth together, whether that's exercising together, in general, if you make it like not a big deal and like we just go do it, it's not going to be a big deal, right? So you want your kids to go for a walk, you just start taking them on a walk, right? And it's hard to get kids to go do something because they're stuck to you. And a lot of moms have discovered we can't get away from our kids. And even if they're whining, we're still stuck with them, right? So if we start moving, they start moving with us. If they don't like healthy food, which is certainly a thing, I mean, through all of human history, humans have been trying to eat a standard American diet full of sugar and salt and fat. I mean, this is like we have arrived at what all humans have ever wanted. So why would we go back to eating greens and right? But it's actually really yummy. And so just start having it every meal and eat it yourself. They don't have to be enjoying it. You don't have to force it on them. Just start eating it and then encourage them to taste it. Because the reality is, for most kids, it takes 30 to 50 attempts at a new food before they're willing to actually eat it. So I always tell my kids about when I started eating salmon. So in my family, we just couldn't afford a lot of different things, but I realized that when I went to college, I went to a private school on scholarship and they had these nice dinners. And so often they had weird food like borscht and salmon and things that I'd never had before. And so I started thinking, like, okay, what's something that I really would benefit from? I was like, I'm going to learn how to swallow salmon without barfing. And so my mom bought like really small, like the smallest amount of salmon she could at the grocery store and prepared it and I'd like swallow a whole, like a pill at first because I was so grossed out by it. And I was a very picky eater. And then my mom would eat the rest of it, which she really liked. So I don't think she minded this whole thing. And it took me so many tries. This was at 16 in college. Like I'd managed a lot of other things in my life and I could not get myself to eat yucky food. I did the same thing with broccoli. Which was also yucky. I did the same with mushrooms. Like we just started checking things off, but I'll never forget the salmon part because I started with a piece like that big and I had to force myself. But once I'd done that, and I was like, okay, that didn't kill me. I learned how to eat salmon where I could put it on a fork and eat it with a smile on my face. Everything got easier after I starting with bigger pieces. Maybe not that big, like a small bite of broccoli or pretty small bite of mushroom. The other thing to know is that kids all over the world don't like these. I mentioned I taught kids all over the world. Kids all over the world don't like mushrooms. It just is like one of the most universal unliked foods among kids I've discovered. Kids all over the world love pizza. Not every kid, but like almost every kid. So you're not alone in any of this. And as you're working on these habits, do them with your kids because it'll be more fun for you too. Because we actually need these habits too. Don't tell anyone, but we actually need our vegetables. We need exercise. We need to brush our teeth. And I don't know about you, but it's hard for me to take care of myself because I'm so busy taking care of everyone else. And so then I want them to do things that I'm not doing for me. And we need to do it for ourselves too. So
I love
that's kind
that.
of a long answer to a short question.
That's great, though. That's great. That's something I'm going to try. So my aversion has been eggs for like all of my life, and I've been told so many times how they would be so good with protein. So I like
Mhm.
your thoughts about the little tiny bites and one at a time. And there's always something that we can learn too as adults and parents. This is just advice and different thoughts that are good for us too. So remember, we're here for your children, but we're also here for you. and to help, with homeschooling, parenting, extracurricular activities. Dr. Robin School has it all. Dr. Robin, thank you so much for
Thank you.
today. This was an absolutely wonderful webinar, and it's going to be such a great new start to my new year for sure, and I'm sure many, many others. And yes, please reach out to me. I hope to see your children in Coloring Book Club in January. Please sign up for that free 30-day trial too. If you've not utilized that yet, then I very much encourage you to. There's so many amazing lessons Dr. Robin has in the curriculum, and it's never ending. You're going to always enjoy learning. So thank you so much, and we appreciate you being here today.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, everyone. It was
Thank
lovely having you all
you.
here.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye bye.